Hey, it's your boy, the Crypto Goon. Shout out to all my crypto goons for pulling up once again. So we got Kevin O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful, talking about Bitcoin and altcoins and what's pretty much happening from his perspective. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's on the show Shark Tank. If you aren't familiar with that, then just check him out. He's a very big business owner, very successful. So let's check out the video, and we're gonna react to it.
32% from its latest all-time high of $126,000 in early October. Actually traded as low as $80,000 a couple weeks ago. So, Kevin, do you expect to see a near-term rebound in Bitcoin, or do you anticipate further selling?
I think there'll be a little bit more selling. Let me explain the backdrop to what's happening here in the crypto markets. It goes back to when the Genius Act was passed, which made stablecoins legal. That took a little air out of Bitcoin because there was a narrative for years that Bitcoin would become a form of digital currency, and that has been replaced now by the legal aspect of stablecoins. And so if you look at the volume of stablecoins being used internationally, they're very active because now it's legal tender. So you can use it in Switzerland or Saudi Arabia or wherever. Choose the stablecoin of your choice, and the banks themselves in the U.S., money center banks, are moving ahead with their own versions of stablecoins. And so when it comes to the narrative of should you own Bitcoin for a digital currency or a payment settlement system, the answer is no. It's a pure speculation like gold is. So that took a bit of air out of it. But it's what's going on everything else that is causing a little chaos in the market. Let me explain that. We have a new act coming through Congress called the Clarity Act, which solves the problem as to whether Ethereum is a commodity or a security, and on and on and on. And there are thousands of tokens. But usually when there was a correction in the market, you would have all of the altcoins or rat coins or, excuse my French, shit coins, whatever you want to call them, and there are thousands of them. They would have a large correction, but they would bounce back. This time, they're not bouncing back. And the reason that is occurring is very simple. Investors have figured out you only need to own two positions to capture 97.5% of all the alpha of all crypto. That's Bitcoin itself and Ethereum. That's all I own now. If you own those two, it doesn't matter what happens anywhere else because everything else is moving with a much higher vol to the downside and not recovering anymore because they have no use case. So Ethereum gives you exposure to the blockchain, which is, for 12 years been discussed in financial services, and Bitcoin is the granddaddy digital gold, if you wish. You don't need to own anything else. Now, there's a Solana story, and Solana's done a very good job of spending millions in marketing to get on the tickers the same way that Ethereum and Bitcoin are. Unfortunately, into the narrative, due to some malware recently, there was this concern about security on trading systems skimming fees on Solana. And that Solana blows itself up every 6 to 8 weeks with a story like that. So it's not secure enough the way Ethereum is, at least in the perceived market. So you don't even need that one. You just need ETH and Bitcoin. And I'm not sure when that's going to change because unless you can spend millions of dollars in marketing and give a use case for your shitcoin or your altcoin or your rat coin or whatever the hell you want to call it, no one is going to even pay any attention to it. And it will stay down where it is now. And some of these coins are down 70, 80%. We haven't seen that in years. So the era of the shitcoin is over, and now people will really look at use case. And for that, all you need is Bitcoin and Ethereum. There's a synopsis for you. At least that's the way I'm investing in it.
He actually makes a great point. I agree and I disagree with him. Outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think that there will be several other altcoins that are very well. And if you've been here for a while, you've heard me say that with this downturn that we're having in crypto, the majority of these altcoins are not going to come back. We're starting to already see them die off one by one. Like how he mentioned, 70, 90% down. A lot of them are going to pretty much go to zero. We're going to have that day of reckoning one day where we wake up and a lot, maybe like 80% of altcoins will have gone to zero. It's going to be just like that .com bubble burst type of thing when companies all just woke up and they were all just bankrupt all at the same time. It's going to be something very similar in the cryptocurrency market, and you're going to have maybe leftover like your top 10. But outside of that, the majority of them are going to be washed straight up and down. And I also even talked about the cross-border payment situation, right? A lot of those things are redundant. I mean, come on, let's be honest. We got PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Apple Pay. You know, there's 100 different ways you can send people money. That's why I don't think that cross-border payment sector of crypto is going to even really last. Because again, if you look at just payments in general, right? You got Visa, you got MasterCard, you got Discover, and you got Diners Club. Those are the only four companies that operate in the payment sector as far as like when you swipe, when you tap, you know, they're attached to some of these digital wallet makers. So it's going to be the same thing in cross-border payments. Like you're going to have these larger companies that most likely already exist that are going to be the big boys in that. Now they could essentially license somebody's blockchain, acquire it, whatever. But as far as instant payments, that's a problem that's already been solved. And you know, some of these others may have something better to contribute to society than just cross-border payments. People were big on that. And a lot of these cross-border payment platforms are down, like he said, 80-90% because there's no real use case for it. There is, but the end consumer wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. You know, I know when I Cash App somebody or Apple Pay them, they get the money just as fast as the text message went through. Like, how much faster do you need? Like, do you need the money to get spent before you even think about it? Like, so, you know, I'm playing, but I'm serious. But in the end, you know, I 100% agree with him. These shit coins, it is over.